that change.
That, I just thought it was an item that should be pointed out to the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for pointing it out.
Yeah.
Question? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Okay, I have one more comment that I just overlooked before. In section 232-03, where it defines, you know, the division, what the responsibilities are essentially of the fire chief.
Mhm.
And then when I looked at what was in before that was struck out, it says shall have control over fire division, fire apparatus belonging to the village, and whenever any fire apparatus needs repair, the chief shall make or prescribe or make it done without delay, etc. So, but that is not any longer part of the new description, which makes it kind of a paper shuffler with doing the strategy and the budgets and so forth. So my question is, but it says on the last two lines here that the fire chief shall be responsible for those provisions established in, looks like 3 RS chapter 24 section 11-10-1 as they pertain to the revenue. Well, that's revenue, so that's not even it. So I guess where is the apparatus responsibilities now going to fall? I know it's still responsibility of the fire chief, but it was expressly stated before,
Yes.
but it's not now, so I was wondering if it's covered somewhere else.
What's reflected in the fire service today is, like I mentioned earlier, the fire chief, and this concept is going to be more of an administrative. The deputy chief is going to be your day-to-day operations, your maintaining of your equipment, your personnel, first contact, and management. It's going to be set up to where the DC is going to make the decisions on how things are handled and then present them to the fire chief for funding. So it's a check and balance kind of concept where we have a guy who's operating the day-to-day operations, but then he has to report to someone else who's going to ultimately fund his operations. So it's broken down that way for a reason, for almost a checks and balances. Now, before it was kind of, and like I mentioned, this ordinance just really reflected basically the fire chief. It didn't really start breaking us down and start giving us more job descriptions. And that's a large part of what this is. Everything's starting to get broken down now in responsibilities.
So who will have responsibility for the apparatus?
Apparatus would be the deputy chief. He would then recommend, you know, there's a repair needs to be made or maintenance needs to be done. Chief, I need to get this done. We need to get this funded. And then he would say, okay, we've got the budget money to do this.
Okay, I have one quick issue just to get along. So I know there's some areas like I was saying, Green Garden. Do we cover them?
Yeah, well, actually, those are actually covered by the Frankfurt Fire Protection District, which we have a mutual aid agreement with that does a lot of help back and forth with us.
So they're part of these now, and I was wondering the part of us. Now, the other part, like Liberty Field does not have a police department, and I know they call on for support. So how does that work the same way?
Yes, they have a different style. It's called something a little bit different than what we have. We have a mutual aid box alarm system. You know, Davis divisions, they do have something similar.
Okay.
No
That's all I
question.
have.
Trustee?
When this comes back before us, is there any way we can maybe use one color for what state statute, what you're changing to match state statute, and then what you're changing to match, because that's just what you guys want to change?
And what we could do is we can even attach a copy of the state statute. Sometimes it's a little.
Well, no,
Okay.
it'd be easier. So in this ordinance, in this document here, to see what is actually state statute, because the part about that Trustee Payton brought up, attorney brought up, that's not part of state statute, that's a one, right? So if,
What is
about
specific?
the deputy chief, where he says,
You're talking about subparagraph 1 under 232-01 about
Number one.
that the fire chief would be appointed by the village manager and that the fire chief would be selected from full-time members.
right,
Yeah,
So
that
that's-
is not reflected by state statute.
right, so I would like to see what is state statute, the difference between, because I thought everything was state statute. But if it's some is state statute, I would like to see what's not state statute.
Okay, sure.
Maybe some color coding.
Color coding, we're directly reflected, sure. No problem.
You may want to just put it bold, because when they make copies of this, it'll all be in black.
Right.
Or underline,
Yeah.
bold,
Something
something.
you can distinguish between, sure, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Any others? Okay, is it agreed upon that this will go, meeting as a whole as the first reading?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, work on it. Any other questions, concerns? We'll address it. Thank you. Okay. 5A, discussion and ordinance of Village University Park, Willoughby County, Illinois, amending Title II, Part 8 of the codified ordinance of the Village University Park pertaining to business regulations and license fees. Discussion is open.
Yeah.
Mayor, I have to confess, it's got cow discussion, and that's kind of what I think of it, because it's there's parts here that are so vague, I didn't even know what they're talking about. So, for example, on page 2, it says section 812-03 of chapter 812 of title 2 of part 8 of the codified ordinance of the Village of University Park is hereby amended by deleting phrase $15 for the license fee for each machine identified in the table of section 812-3. What machine? Is it a video machine? Is it a wash machine?
Please don't talk about.
Yeah.
Attorney's talking about right. Hold on. Attorney, it's on page 3.
Right. Well, the same thing if you go to page 5, section 20, in that paragraph, next to the bottom line, it says per stall. Well, what is a stall? Is it a horse stall? Is it a beauty stall? Is it a barber
Bathroom
stall?
stall, right.
I mean, to me, this thing, without, right, it was just too damn confusing as far as I'm concerned. I don't have any problems with the fee increases, but I would like to know, and it seemed to be selective as well, Mayor, that there are only certain business types that were identified, laundry, so there were a couple of others, but if we're doing something, isn't, with these fees, shouldn't we be clearly defining what type of businesses and so forth are involved?
And the attorney's gonna address that.
Yeah, actually, to follow up on the trustee Hayden's comments, in the under section 1801, it is in regards to video gaming machines, arcade games, and I think there might actually be a vending machines, or that could be a different section. I'm not 100% on that one. But in regards to my first suggestion for section 8 of this, on the 1801, there ought to be separate fees for the various types of devices regulated by that ordinance. So you look at section 1801, and for each device that you have, there should be a separate fee for it and a separate regulation. And my other suggestion was 1804, add a business plan requirement to include an executive summary for these service-related businesses in 804. I have some others too, but I think I'll listen a little first and then go for it.
Okay, why don't we just.
Yes, and after I got the packet, when I was looking through it myself, it should have been accompanied with a memorandum identifying the fees. Some of them are identified within the section, but I realize some of them are not, as pointed out by Trustee Payton. 812-03, which would have been section 5 of the ordinance. The machine, that's for vending machines. You can't see that as you're looking at the ordinances proposed, because it was going to amend just that specific section. What I could do, if the trustees would prefer, I could put together a memorandum to identify what each fee relates to, or we could amend it to expand upon the ordinance that's going to be amended. That either or.
Whatever requires the least amount of research.
Right.
When I read this stuff.
The preparation of a memorandum, probably, I could identify, I could go through each section, I could say section 3, which is 804-07.
Yeah.
I could say section 3, 804-07 is for, and I could put what specific fee is for, go through each one. Would not be very time consuming.
Can I just go ahead and go through like all the relevant changes then? So Line two is in section 804, we should add a business plan requirement for the service business, or for the general requirements. That includes the executive summary, so we'll always know what type of business is trying to come and locate it within a section.
Which section is
That'd
that?
be 804, I think that's the general provisions of the estate of the
On page 3,
ordinance.
page 3.
Yeah, that'll be on page 3. That's just a general change to the general provisions of that section. 801, that's the general provisions of the ordinance. So this applies to all regulation of business licenses, and then it goes into service and different types.
What would you like to see?
Add a business plan requirement to obtain a business license. And that includes an executive summary, so we won't be caught by surprise like we were with some other shops that have opened recently. That's the first thing.
Business plan is normally only required if you're doing a lease. You can require your tenant to provide, I don't know if that should be public information
What's that?
for put together a business plan because somebody's applying for a license.
Right. Does it could be a home base like?
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of noticed that too, actually.
So I don't think that would be, so that varies, trustee.
The next one was, in section 3 of the actual statute, I think instead of 150, it should be $100 for the service businesses. Section 4, that was okay. Section 5 was okay. Section 6 is okay. Section 7 on 1807, no, that was okay.
And, you know, the part on, trustee, special license, you have to from that. When someone was at my door this weekend, with little children, and they were hustling, and I asked them, did they have solicitation license and peddler's license? They can have anything.
Well,
And nobody checks it. I told them, just go home, because it's really illegal. But we do need to let them know, when people come to your doors, they should have a license. That was licensed, but I don't know how that happens. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Section 8 should be,
Of the clerk.
You know, there was an amendment to federal law that had to do with solicitation and people going door to door, and to what authority did the municipality, the extent of the authority that the municipality had, correct me if I'm wrong, on whether or not license had to be issued. This was taken, I think, to the Supreme Court by the Jehovah's Witnesses.
It would depend on whether or not.
It would depend on whether or not, what the purpose of, if you're soliciting for business is compared to going door to door, just to,
Witness.
you know, espouse some opinion.
There was a clause in there about the total witness. It was stated federally.
No, they were the ones who brought forth the suit that brought about the change.
Right.
But the village, we did have signs that we had made that people who wanted no solicitors to come to their homes could purchase for like $5 or $10 and put in their window. And if the people then approached their homes, then they could be, fined and stuff. Yeah.
You can print one out on the word.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, put it on Word.
I think we sold
Yeah,
five.
pay for it. I'll tell you, okay. So your point is, trustee? I'm sorry.
So for section 8 in the ordinance, I think for each gambling machine should be $500 rather than $400. And section 11, we should go from $10 to install pump it to, I would believe, $100 for each install pump at gas stations. And
For pump, wait a minute.
section 11. Section 11 in the ordinance,
Page 3.
8 is 83403 is in the statute.
For installed pump.
That's installed. That's for gas regulation of gas stations.
Filling stations, gas stations.
Are they gonna blame it?
How much did you say for that?
What is he doing?
Per pump.
Right. Change the fees.
And that's because that's per year. I think that one was per year.
Wait, I think there's an error on this one that says. It's 20,000. It says
Yeah, that's right.
$20, but in the parentheses it says 20,000.
Right.
That's a typo, I hope.
Yeah, so-
that's.
All right.
Trustee
It's
Brown.
20.00.
I'm pretty sure that was.
It's a typo.
I
Okay.
just want to ask, Trustee Brown, does the state have a limit on these gaming machines as the amount that you can charge per gaming machine?
That one I
Just
don't know.
asking.
I didn't research that part of
Because
it.
I know we're pretty high on what we charge per machine compared to a lot of other municipalities on those gaming machines.
Yeah, like I say, I kind of missed that part, but I didn't research that part. I just kind of tried to figure out what went with the statutes, those ordinances. So I spent a lot of time doing that.
Section 14. Oh, I'm sorry.
That was 8.
I have on section 14.
Yeah, section 11, that was 8 is was 500 when we're talking about the gambling machines, and I think it ought to be 250 rather than 300 for in section 12. I don't remember what that one was for though.
Just in the essence of time though,
Right,
Can
can
you-
you just go back and, since you have these changes, because this is a long list, we get about
Oh,
7
sorry, yeah, that was,
So, 'cause I got to get up at 4 in the morning.
so we had whether that.
Yeah, so you know what, why don't we just hold back on that? And then that will come back,
And I'll draft a memo
Right.
to identify what
Please.
each one is.
Yeah.
right, and that'll help out, okay, because we can't go through that all. Jeez, the mic is tired. Okay. All right, so, okay, discussion, and we'll come back to that and bring that up as a first reading? Committee of the whole? That is what,
It wouldn't be a first reading at a meeting of a whole.
it's not the discussion.
Bring it
Okay.
back, bring it
But have
back,
your input.
bring it back for the next committee of the
All
whole.
right.
So we'll bring this back in February, right?
Okay.
March.
Discussion, yes, March.
Right.
Discussion, PK's Christian Daycare Center lease. Wait a minute, I got something I
The daycare is missing.
Yeah, I know the daycare is
Not
missing.
yet the daycare,
Oh, we don't have it.
correct.
Okay.
With that, there is a proposed lease that was previously passed by the village board for Unit E2,
Okay.
$936.90 per month.
do we have a document in front
No.
No, we don't.
Okay.
We'll have to get
But it's on the agenda.
Put it on.
Wait.
That's the wrong.
No, he didn't put that in here. They didn't give it to us. So he's explaining it. Excuse me, he's explaining that. So what are you saying?
Yeah, I would say there's a proposed lease.
Can you use the mic?
Here, I have one. There's a proposed lease,
That was previously
Wow, that's good.
passed by the Board of Trustees for Unit 82, which is the unit for which the daycare is located. We were in negotiations with them. The rent in the form lease was $936.90. Couple items they were looking to change in the form lease would be to reduce the penalty from $200 per day to $50 per day if they're late on rent. Also looking to reduce the amount of insurance. In the form lease, it's $3 million we require them to maintain per occurrence. They're seeking $1 million instead of $3 million. They're seeking to delete Section 10, which when we get forward to Poppies,
This one,
Okay,
okay, we'll just
We can move
pass
forward?
this. Yeah, we have to move
Okay.
forward. Because we don't have
Bring
to.
it back at the committee.
Okay, yeah,
Sure.
please. Bring it back in March. Okay, discussion ordinance, authorizing execution of an amendment to the lease of commercial property by and between the village of University Park, Louis County, Illinois. United Dental Resources Corporation for Town Center 70, addendum to the add additional year of American Smiles lease. Okay, that's here before us, 5286.
Was this the rent that we always, he's always paid there, the $1,120 a month?
Yeah, I think he's just extending the lease 1
Right.
year to help us out, cover the cost of the HVA system that had to be put in there.
Right, which I think you've heard.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it there.
Me too. Okay, all right, so it's okay to bring this as a meeting as a whole?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Regular meeting.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Been up since 4:30, excuse me. All right, that'll come back, that's a go. Let's put it, that's a go. Okay, the next one, discussion ordinance authorizing execution of revised lease of a commercial property line between the Village of University Park, Louis County, Illinois, and Leukemia Research Foundation, Inc., the Town Center, Unit 6. That's their renewal.
now, this isn't a renewal, Mayor, this was a lease and an ordinance that had been brought before the board, I believe on August 8th.
that's approved enough.
It was approved on August 8th.
Okay,
What they're seeking after the fact, they're seeking the deletion of one paragraph from the lease that was approved by this board. That would be section 10 of the lease. If you look at the lease that was included with your packet, it's stricken through.
exception of provision.
Why are they asking for that?
Why is that?
This provision, they're asking, this provision basically states that the lessor, which would be the Village of University Park, the Village of University Park will not be liable to them for any damages or injuries that they receive or are incurred, even if those injuries are a result of the acts of the village's employees or due to the acts of the village. It's a complete, even though it says except as provided by Illinois statute, it would be a waiver by the tenant in reference to whether, anything that was occurred or happened on account of the village or from an adjacent unit. If the board were to agree to delete this paragraph out of the form lease, that does not preclude the board from raising any defenses to any claims that may arise.
Well, two things. One is, if we take this out of this lease, just in fairness, is this going to be excluded from all leases? That's the first thing. And the other thing is, that's why they have insurance. That's why we require them to have insurance. So why should the village just be possibly on the hook? Not only, so it wouldn't only be for that unit, but it would, in all fairness, it should do the same thing for all the units.
Right.
I have to say, I'm in agreement with trustee Petty, we shouldn't release our waiver
Right.
for everybody.
And then this thing,
Well, not
take
really.
to March 4th, no, this is too, no. Okay.
Do we have a history on why they're asking for this? Did something happen, they, all of a sudden they agreed on this in September, and now all of a sudden they want it out? Did something come up?
That I am not aware of, why this provision was triggered, why they're seeking to have that removed from the lease.
I know there was a problem with when the heating units
Yeah, I remember
went
that.
bad, pipes froze, and then there was some flooding in a couple of units, and maybe that's what triggered it, but still.
Well, she had brought this.
That's why you got
forward
insurance.
prior to that.
So, okay, so
I'm not
we
in
may
favor.
want to accept, take this back?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
there was one other change, and that was the date of occupancy when this became executed. We had the 8th, we had August, which was the date was approved. and she wanted it for September 11th as a start date. That's on the
Was the actual day she took off?
Yeah, that's what she's, that did became
Was
effective
that effective?
as a,
Okay. Changes the date, does
date that
nothing.
we put it in.
Okay.
Was the date it was approved.
I'll have a problem changing the date of this revision. So what do we do then? Trustees? What do you have?
They don't want to bring it back before, there's consent not to bring it back, then it won't be brought back before
Okay. Okay.
the board.
So what are we doing? I'm sorry.
What was that?
If there's a consent that the board does not want to proceed and bring this revised lease for a vote, it does not need to be on the agenda
Okay.
for next meeting in February, and we will, the village manager and I will be in contact with the tenant.
Okay. Discussion of public comment policy. Discussion of public.
So what are we doing, holding that or?
No.
So that's a hold.
Thank
Yeah.
you for the paper, and some of the reference to that bit. Public policy. Public, comment.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm at moved on to 5A8, discussion of public comments policy.
yeah, we said that there would be a 30-minute
Right.
limit on the total time for public comment. That's the
Okay.
one thing. The other thing is, we said what we would try to do in the event that if a person cannot, if we can't get to a person, then we would try to have someone get back to them with an
Right.
answer
Yeah.
to their question if we didn't have or required some additional research. So as in paragraph 1, they should not only, in my opinion, give us their name, but on the form, they should also have the address, phone number, and email address where they can be sent
Okay.
a response. So
Okay.
unless we have that.
Okay. That's fine.
We need to have a 30-minute total time, in my opinion.
Okay, 30 minutes total. Okay.
3 minutes per person.
Yeah, it should be 3 minutes per person, which is in here, 3 minutes for the board. And the question I raised the last time is
Board as well.
that, like we had today, we had,
Right.
7 people comment for 3 minutes each. So should the total comments be from the board itself be 3 minutes? Or is each board member going to be allowed 3 minutes? Or should we limit the number of board members that would respond?
Right. I feel we should limit. Everyone doesn't need to comment because that'll take up the whole night. So we'll just choose if someone wants to take that, address that particular one. You want to address it, you want to address it, whoever. So we don't need 9 people or 7 people to address it.
I would say a maximum of 2.
Right.
And I seen something, Mayor, I don't know, Milton, if you did it when you were on the board. I seen a documentary, I seen a documentary last night on HBO. It was very interesting about St. Louis and the nuclear waste. Well, they had an angry crowd, I would say, a little teed-off crowd. They were coming up doing general public comments, and I remember you said it at one meeting. I seen one of the board members take, it looks like a laptop or a iPad. She took it and she sat it in the front so that the person speaking, and it is 3 minutes, and it was counting down, and maybe we can do that too, because I remember you mentioned that, and I thought about that last night when I thought it was brilliant.
We used to do that. I used to run my little phone clock,
You did.
beep when the time is
Right,
up.
that's
But they've designated the public works director to be the timer.
Right.
So, which is good. But when I was on the school board, I helped develop that policy.
Right,
for,
sure
to
did.
the board. I just pulled all their comments together. So we have the form that I'm talking about that way. But exactly what you said, we have 30 people to show up and talk about this one issue. And so we had, so we have to say, no, you got just 2 are going to report on this issue. And that's why it's good to have that issue on the whatchamacallit.
Okay.
It's not so
Yeah, it
bad
works
right now, but, this is just preparing us in
But
the
it
event.
does work with the school
Right.
board, because I go there and they're very disciplined with it. And if you don't get there before 6:30, put it on and you don't talk, and you're not gonna be rude, and everybody, I don't know, anyone's never respected it. They respect it, they don't. So maybe we can get that here, and maybe they can start this way.
Madam Mayor, can I address
Yes?
those searches? In reference to the 30-minute total time limit that was in the current policy that the board had, in doing research on this, they have amended, a couple of years ago, they amended the Open Meetings Act to state, any person shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under the rules established and recorded by the public body. Under the Open Meetings Act, if someone wishes to address the board, and the Open Meetings Act say they shall be permitted an opportunity to address the board. If we were to limit the total time to 30 minutes, and you have 30 people, however many people it would be, if you were to go over 30 minutes and then not allow individuals to address the board, you could run afoul of the Open Meetings Act. Second, this is why we give advice. I don't make the final decisions. The Board of Trustees makes the final decisions. I just provide advice.
Okay.
The second, it would be if you have a number of people sign up to address the board, and you're going to impose this 30-minute total time limit, then the board would have to determine who would be allowed to speak. Are you going to take a lottery? Are you going to take who comes first?
Okay.
You know, is it going to be based on topics, those sorts of items? And then it could possibly, depending, not that it would be, but it could be alleged by someone who's not allowed to speak that, you know, the First Amendment rights were violated. The fact that John Doe was able to speak on this, however, I was going to speak on the subject, which would have been in opposition, and I'm not allowed to speak.
Councilor, so what's your recommendation? Let me just ask a question here. Can we then, if we chose to, limit the comments to 1 minute? So in our minds, if there are, or vary it. So if we have 15 people that want to speak on a subject, we can say you only have 2 minutes to speak. So essentially, if all 15 spoke, it would be 30 minutes, right? Or if there are 30 people here, we said you got 1 minute, so it's 30 minutes. Or if there's only, 10 people here, we can say you got 3 minutes. Because by the time we have to respond also, we're an hour. You know what I'm saying? Because we're going to respond also normally, because they get pissed off if you don't say something. And a lot of times there needs to be a response if the information is known. But that just then prolongs the thing even, things even further, particularly if now we're saying only 2 board members will respond and you got up to 3 minutes, right?
And we only want 30 people.
Trustee, 3 minutes is kind of a benchmark or typical, if you will. However, there are areas where they use 2 minutes as a time limit as opposed to 3 minutes, and that has been held to be okay, sufficient.